Solution Go!
We exhibit at Solution Go today, and we find that the audience, the footfall is really meaningful to us, and we do have quite a few potential leads for us.
It was great. We met many visitors from different industry.
The event has been great so far. It's a great platform for me to connect with not only local customers, we are also regional customers, and there's also an opportunity to be with educational partners.
Generally quite good. Yesterday I was surprised that even at 9 o'clock already there are a lot of people coming, walking around. So I get to know some old friends here. Very, very good.
They shared information to circulation. I think it's very good to see the big working together with the industry. Something new, get to take out applications, awards.
It's always been great for us to get to know some new faces and re-establish contact with some familiar faces and to get to know some new opportunities.
So far, loving RINC has been a really cool experience. They've been very helpful and informative, helping us come to this new core market, meet new contacts with networking, and also find some partners to do some technology collaborations. And we hope to carry continue the relationship with Automation Exchange.
Allows us to work that allows everyone here and it's an enriching experience for all of us.
NRP is glad to play a part at this event by running our pilot Robo-Cluster Manufacturing Workshop. It is very exciting to see so many people engaging with each other post-workshop. I can't wait to see what industry partnerships we can help to shape through this workshop with ASMPT.
Privileged to be in the Singapore Pavilion. It creates a platform for us to connect and reconnect with customers and even potential suppliers.
platform for me to connect with not only local customers, we are also regional customers, and there's also an opportunity to be with educational partners.
enterprises must transform to stay competitive. But every solution is as unique as its company. With SP's company and workforce transformation, we make these journeys possible.
Tai-Seng has been exploring Industrial 4.0 solutions for a while, but the path to transformation is not always easy. We have been working with SP for over 5 years, and when they introduced CWT to us, we knew from day one that this was going to be very useful.
Our regular customers knows that what completes a bowl of Lee fishball noodles is our blend of sauces. But with 16 outlets all over Singapore, we started getting feedback that the noodle taste was inconsistent, thus affecting our quality. So we decided to approach SP because we know that they have the capabilities to help us to develop a solution that solves this issue.
SP's CWT is an integrated platform for enterprise transformation. We offer end-to-end solutions which address a business pain points, optimize their processes, and provide upskilling opportunities for employees. SP is dedicated to helping SMEs advance in their transformation journey, no matter which stage they are in.
Initially, our aim was just to make a machine that dispenses the various sauces. But SP's Food Innovation and Resource Center thought through all the things that we never considered, like maintenance and how to integrate into our existing operations. One obstacle that we faced was that the chili sauce would separate because of all the different ingredients. So the team also helped us to reformulate our chili sauce while keeping the original taste. SP really went above and beyond our expectations.
Everything is very hands-on. SP helped us develop a roadmap to see where we could be in a few years' time, and that aligned the whole company to our transformation journey. SP also introduced us to their AM Lead program. We got the chance to travel to Germany to visit Porsche and see how Industrial 4.0 enhances factories of leading NMCs. It was so eye-opening because it showed us what was possible for Tai-Seng.
Transformation is complex. That's why SP aims to make the process as simple as possible, so that we can encourage more SMEs to embark on this journey.
I feel SP really understands the industry, and their project-based approach has been very valuable for us.
Whatever needs your company may have, SP will work with you to make it possible.
At the heart of every business is its people.
HR can play a big role in empowering them, helping businesses adapt and grow.
That's why we chose to level up our HR.
At Singapore Polytechnic, we believe that good companies are built from inside out. That's why we created the Human Resource Learning Journey, building companies of good. We designed this learning journey around 3 key pillars. Profit to drive growth and impact. People to nurture teams through diversity, equity and inclusion. And planet to embed sustainability into leadership and workforce practices. Each edition builds on the last, supporting enterprises step by step from foundation to future.
Our members often face similar HR challenges, from employee onboarding to talent retention. The learning journey gives us space to step back, reflect, and see HR as more than just operations.
In a fast-moving company like ours, people step into leadership roles often, but not everyone feels ready. The HRLJ helped us understand the different communication styles, enabling us to work better as a team.
Sustainability has always been key to our business, but is often seen as separate from HR. With SP, we explore how to bring those principles into the way we hire, onboard, and manage performance. Together, we are shaping a future where HR cares for both people and the planet.
HRLJ offers practical people-first solutions to real business challenges, with playbooks and templates co-developed with industry partners to help enterprises act with clarity and confidence.
Together with SP, we encourage enterprises to position HR as a business enabler.
Today's talent is looking for meaning in their work.
When HR reflects your company's values, you attract people who believe in what your business stands for.
At SP, we believe that when HR leads with purpose, businesses do more than grow. They build cultures where people thrive and values last. 3 pillars, 1 journey. Your transformation begins here. Let us build companies of good together.
Growing our businesses should not be at the expense of our planet.
Whatever we borrow from the planet must be returned.
But taking on sustainability measures may be a daunting challenge to some.
That's why Singapore Polytechnic is here to support SMEs in their sustainability journey.
At SATACom Health, we take care of the elderly and the vulnerable in the community. But we want to extend our care to the planet as well. We use electric vehicles instead of diesel-run vehicles, mobilize medical services to the doorstep, and provide teleconsultations. Even though we have been implementing these environmentally friendly measures, we didn't have the expertise to quantify the reduction in our greenhouse gases emissions. That's when we knew we had to partner with Singapore Poly.
As an education institution, we have the responsibility to show the way in how to address today's sustainability challenges. SP is walking the talk, and we will reduce 60% of our greenhouse gas emissions by the year 2030.
This journey will be facilitated by One Stop Center, the Center for Environmental Sustainability and Energy Efficiency. By spotlighting solutions such as carbon accounting, sustainability assessment and reporting, energy efficiency and circularity, businesses can acquire valuable insight into sustainable practices. SP partnership with industry partners such as Paya Consulting has also helped to expand the ecosystem.
Sustainability is a language, a strategic language of insights that we all must speak. So at Paya, we train and equip the Singapore Poly trainers with the right skill sets and the tools so that they in turn can go out and offer public training to SMEs. So now with sustainability infused into the SP's curriculum, we are really able to engage the public with thorough research and insight, coming up with unique solutions to every company need.
Embarking on this sustainability learning journey with Singapore Poly means that SME like us get access to a pool of innovation, be able to mitigate business risks from rising carbon tax and safeguard our business. It's like having a consultant, advisor and mentor all in one. So embracing sustainability is not as challenging as before, with SP helping us every step of the way.
For SME to stay ahead of the curve, green discourse and action must happen.
It's urgent that we embrace a sustainable future.
Our generation has contributed much to the current challenges. Let us do our part to address them. Go green with SP's sustainability learning journey today.
Okay, a very good morning, one. right, once again, a very, very, very good morning, one and all, and welcome back to day 2 of Automation Solution Go and the Regional Industry Networking Conference 2025. My name is Ajay, and it is my absolute pleasure to be your host for today. Now, yesterday, we explored strategies for transformation across the manufacturing landscape, thought-provoking keynote addresses, the Go Awards ceremony, and insightful presentations on digitalization, sustainability, and workforce development. Now, we also heard from Mr. So Waiwa, Mr. Terence Teo, and our guest of honor, Minister of State, Mr. Alvin Tan, who set the tone for a day of exploration and collaboration. This year's spotlight is on the Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone, a cross-border initiative creating new opportunities for regional growth. Over the next sessions, we will explore how to navigate and leverage this development through case studies and panel discussions. Later this afternoon, we have 4 exciting breakout sessions. Strategic Talent Development by Institutes of Higher Learning for the Johor-Singapore SEZ. Practical know-how for setting up business facilities in the Johor-Singapore SEZ. Driving job performance and business outcomes through job redesign and workplace learning, and revolutionizing smart manufacturing solutions with Advantech Smart Factory Suite. Now, all of you who are participating in the breakout sessions, we do want you to gather at about 1:15 in the exhibition hall just outside. So as you can hear, there is an amazing day of presentations, panels, breakout sessions, all happening right here today. And this program, this event, would not have been possible without all our kind and generous sponsors and supporting partners. So let's give a big round of applause for all the sponsors and partners for making this event a truly magnificent one. All right, and without further ado, let's kick this off. I'd like to welcome Ms. Casatrina Lee, Deputy Director of the Johor-Singapore SEZ Program Office from the Economic Development Board, to deliver her opening address. Ms. Lee, please.
Mr. Loh Yu Cheong, Deputy Principal, Academic of Singapore Polytechnic. Mr. Terence Teo, President of Automation SG. Ms. Kavita Muthuve, Minister Economic of the Malaysian Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, High Commission of Malaysia to Singapore. Mr. Vinothan Tulisanathan, Director of the Malaysian Investment Development Authority. And Mr. Najmi Nordin, Director, Chief Talent Officer of Johor Corporation, Chairman of Johor Skills Development Centre, and member of the Management Board of the Johor Talent Development Council. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to day 2 of the Automation Solution Go and the Regional Industry Networking Conference 2025, jointly organized by Automation SG and Singapore Polytechnic. I would like to thank the Singapore Polytechnic team, Mr. Toh Se Kun, Mr. Chia Chao Leong, and Mr. Lim Joo Gi for inviting me to deliver today's opening address. It is timely that the Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone is the spotlight for this year's conference, given the immense opportunities it presents to companies. The JSSEZ, launched in January this year, built upon the long-standing partnership between Malaysia and Singapore and focuses on 2 key thrusts. 1, facilitating the cross-border flows of people, goods, and investments between Singapore and Johor. And 2, leveraging the complementary strengths of both locations to create a more compelling joint value proposition for global investors looking at Southeast Asia. In this way, Singapore and Johor can jointly compete for new global investments and expand the pie for everyone. We have seen many success stories of Singapore-based companies twinning their operations between Singapore and Johor in the recent years. Notable examples include medtech company Elcon and precision engineering company IPEX, both of which have established manufacturing facilities in Johor and complement their regional headquarters and manufacturing facilities in Singapore. These companies have also maximized the proximity between Johor and Singapore by managing their Johor facilities out of their Singapore headquarters and leveraging Singapore's connectivity to the world to ship products manufactured in both locations to global customers. Since its Since its inception in March 2025, the JSSEZ Project Office has continued to see strong interest from companies seeking to establish operations in the JSSEZ, particularly in sectors such as general manufacturing, electrical and electronics, medtech and precision engineering, food manufacturing, and logistics and supply chain. With the JSSEZ spanning over 3,000 square kilometers in area, more than 4 times the size of Singapore, and aiming to attract investments from 11 key economic sectors, there remain many opportunities for Singapore-based companies and companies new to Singapore and Southeast Asia to expand into the JSSEZ to maximize their business potential in the region. If your company is interested in establishing operations in the JSSEZ to enable regional growth, the JSSEZ Project Office would be happy to speak with you to develop a regional solution that best meets your company's needs. Let me now share with you one exciting aspect of the JSSEZ that is particularly relevant to today's conference and really top of mind for most of us today, which is talent development. Talent is a critical success factor for companies operating in the JSSEZ, which is why the Singapore and Johor governments are firmly committed to develop a pipeline of skilled and industry-ready talent that companies can tap on as they ramp up operations in the JSSEZ. The JSSEZ Project Office has been facilitating connections between Singapore's Institutes of Higher Learning and Malaysia's government agencies, IHLs, and training providers to develop and deliver training programs and curricula that address Johor's talent needs. We have also been connecting Singapore-based companies in the JSSEZ with training needs to Singapore IHLs to develop company-specific training programs for existing employees and train and place programs. The past year has seen remarkable progress in the development of Johor talent initiatives by Singapore's IHLs in partnership with Malaysian training providers. For example, Singapore Polytechnic is collaborating with both the Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers through an MOU and with Johor Skills and the Johor Talent Development Council to develop training programs tailored to the JSSEZ. Singapore Polytechnic also launched the Enabling Platform Partnership yesterday, which brings together Singapore's and Malaysia's IHLs, technology providers, end-user trade associations and councils, and relevant agencies to catalyze talent developments in the JSSEZ. And several concrete programs developed with specific companies are already underway, such as Singapore Polytechnic's partnership with Singapore SME Tyson to equip over 140 Malaysian employees with the essential knowledge of Sustainability 101. This is a great initiative that goes a long way in building Singapore Polytechnic's brand name internationally, and we are excited to see more training initiatives and talents trained through the Enabling Platform Partnership. In fact, we are encouraging companies to partner directly with our IHLs to train Johor talent specific to your company's needs. Such programs will ensure greater alignment between training and employment outcomes, leading to more effective job placements in the JSSEZ. On top of that, JSSEZ companies collaborating with Singapore's IHLs can also explore establishing cross-border student internships, an initiative that not only helps your company build a steady intern pipeline, but also creates valuable overseas internship opportunities for Singapore students, and this is in support of MOE's 70/70 mandate. The JSSEZ Project Office is ready to work directly with companies in the JSSEZ or those keen to establish there to understand your talent needs and facilitate connections to the relevant stakeholders. To close, the JSSEZ is truly an exciting opportunity for companies looking to unlock their full potential in the region. We see this as a win for Malaysia, a win for Singapore, a win for businesses in the JSSEZ, and a win for Southeast Asia as a whole. The JSSEZ Project Office is here to help you achieve your regional growth ambitions and meet your talent development needs. We are excited to work with you to make this happen. Wishing everyone a fruitful day too at the Automation Solution Go and the Regional Industry Networking Conference 2025. We hope that you will benefit from the insightful presentations, panel discussions, and exhibitions, enjoy meaningful networking, and engage in valuable idea sharing during the interactive sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. we can hear that there's a lot of really exciting things coming up with the Johor Singapore SEZ. Talent pipelines have already begun, and it's such a heartening thing to hear that students from both sides get an opportunity to meet and work together and learn together even before we start this huge collaboration. So something like that being already in the pipeline, a young talent generation growing up, being more and more familiar with our neighbors just across the causeway. I think that's really, really awesome. And I hope some of our students here at SP have also had that opportunity to head down to JB as well. So join me next to start our first presentation titled Business Growth Across the Causeway, Unlocking New Opportunities for Singapore Enterprises. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Chong Chai Pin, Chief Executive Officer of CNA Corporate Consultants Private Limited. Mr. Chong, please.
Okay, good morning, all the ladies and gentlemen. In fact, I'm CP Chong from CNA Professional Group. In fact, today I'm going to so-called go through the 38 years of this experience with you in SEZ. Okay, so CNA Professional Group started in 1988 in Singapore and Malaysia together. Okay, to basically to help this Singapore company and the MNC to move into Johor. Okay, in 1988, in fact, this former Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Hsien Loong, started bilateral relationship. That is 38 years ago. Okay, so the time, in fact, I started in January 88. The bilateral relationship started somewhere in June 88. Okay, so the time our YB Muhyiddin was Menteri Besar in Johor. Okay, so in fact, we have started one very big conference like this, about 500 these manufacturer associations, Singapore Chinese Chamber of Commerce. Okay, those members, okay, go together in about 10 buses. Okay, 10 coaches to have one conference in Johor Bahru. From then onward, 1988, there's a big number of manufacturers start setting up in Johor. Okay, in 1988 to 1997, within the 10 years, we already assisted more than 1,000 SME and MNC, mainly manufacturer, to set up their operation in Johor. Okay, so that's why, in fact, our Malaysia also become one of the tiger in Asia, right? During that 10 years. Okay, that is our so-called first marvelous 10 years. So now, in the past almost 38 years, this is the second opportunity for all the SME and MNC. That is start from 2025. Of course, before the 2025, in fact, last year they already got the impact on this SEZ joint venture agreement. Okay, when the MOE was signed, in fact, the impact already started. In 2024, in fact, both Johor and Singapore, we have this record-breaking the FDI coming to Singapore and Malaysia. So JSSEZ is a kind of magnet not only to attract Singaporeans to Johor, but attract the investor all the world come to Singapore and Johor. So that is our aim of JSSEZ. It's not so much of like before. That means you talk about 38 years ago, our main focus is from Singapore to Johor. But now it's bigger picture. We are talking about from all the world to come to Johor and Singapore. Okay, so today I'm going to navigate together with you about these 38 years of the changes, right? So mainly focus on the coming next 5 to 10 years. Next. Where's my? Yes. Next. Yes. Okay. Myself is a UK chartered accountant, also Singapore and Malaysia chartered accountant. In fact, I'm from this so-called, I'm a auditor and tax consultant in Malaysia. That's why we are doing one-stop from registration company, chartered secretary services, those are auditor, tax, and investment advisor. Okay, so that means now our main mission is to help the SME and MNC to set up in Malaysia within the minimum time and minimum cost. Normally, if you do know how to go through the whole procedure, may take you 3 years. Go through us 3 months only. That's why, so you can reduce your time cost, by 10 times. Okay, so I just got this one Singapore manufacturer doing the packaging one. Complained to me, hey, he's stuck there for 3 years, just a 3 department, just a 3 department, 3 years. You see that? So because our linkage all to the top, okay, our linkage is to the Anhua. In fact, I'm also a chairman of the China ASEAN Chamber of Commerce. Okay, that's why our this chamber, in fact, we are the think tank for our Anhua and also cabinet. Okay, basically we have done a lot of proposal how to improve our investment procedure to the top gun. Understand? That's why our link is to Anhua and minister level. If the local government try to be naughty, we know how to deal with them. Okay, that's why we can solve the problem in the past 38 years is because our linkage is not to the state level, but to the federal level. Okay, so our local government, in fact, last year, he told me, Mr. Chong, if your foreign guy have any problem, you walk into Putrajaya, I can iron up this within 1 month. Okay, that is from the local government which control all the 14 naughty boys. So that's why here, in Malaysia, you must know how to do it. How to do it. You need to know who can do it. Yes, sir. So what to do is one thing. Okay? How to get it done and how to expedite the whole procedure is very important. Okay? If a manufacturer, now the turnaround time very fast, right? You see, 3 years can do a lot of wonder, Correct or not? But if you take 3 years to clear the 3 local departments, you can't even start, No business license yet, You get me? So that is a problem on the ground. Yes, sir. So you must know how to solve this problem so that you can start this efficiently, understand, with a great success. So those customers who follow us in the past 38 years already gone listed. A lot of them have gone listed, have gone international. Okay, from SME until MNC. Okay, a lot of them. You see, so you name it, we have it. We have 1,005 MNC and SME follow us all the way in the past 38 years. Okay, we look back the present one. Okay, so the present so-called thing that we look into, first thing first, we look into Singapore side. What is the problem? I was in Singapore since 1981 to become a student. Well, I'm one of the 1 million those so-called Malaysian students who came over to Singapore to study, to work, and started my business even in Singapore. Okay, I'm one of the 1 million example. Our government. I mean somehow they are very smart. They train our students like us until high school, then come to Singapore for degree, for professional courses. I'm only one of them. Okay, so yesterday I exchanged cards with many SME bosses, even the lecturer. A lot of them are Malaysian like me. Came to Singapore, become PR, become professor, become lecturer, become also entrepreneur now. Yesterday I believe one of this so-called exhibition in China, talking about helicopter, the taxi, this is also Malaysian, In fact, now he's become a scientist, a top-notch scientist in China, Invented the helicopter taxi, You see, that's why a lot of Malaysian good brain has been gone to Australia, Singapore, even now China, a lot of them, millions of them. Based on the latest survey, our Harvard University survey just announced last week through the TikTok. Chinese in Malaysia is with the highest IQ. You know why? because we learn 3 languages. In Malaysia, in Singapore only learn 2 languages, right? In Malaysia, we have to learn 3 languages. So that's why here, because of this, our Malaysian Chinese is also in fact is the most intelligent one. Okay, so we have a lot of Chinese scientists overseas in US, in China, but not in Malaysia, unfortunately. Okay, next. Okay, look at this. Our last year, so-called the survey conducted by Singapore Business Federation. What are the challenges? What are the challenges of this so-called Singapore SME and MNC? You can see now, based on the 2023 to 2025, the challenges has been reduced significantly. I believe it's also because of the SEZ. So now in 2023, you can see our main challenges in Singapore range from 39% to 72%. But 2024, after our signing, even before we actually started, the MOU was signed in January 2024, right? You can see now the amount of stress will reduce somehow, okay? That means it's because of this SEZ. So you can see here, out of the 5 factors of the stresses of Singapore SME and MNC, right, are mainly because of the cost factor, right, utility factor, right? All these factors are the key concern of SME and MNC. Understand? So now, based on our survey from Singapore Business Federation last year, even last 3 months, right? So in fact, based on the survey conducted recently, 93% of SME and MNC have the intention to move into JSSEZ, I mean Johor. Right? So by moving to Johor, they can cut down the cost of operation by 60%. Understand? So you can see our currency here, the difference really 1 to 3.3, right? You see that? So even dollar to ringgit already save more than 60%. You understand that? So that's why here, now, since 1988, I talked to all the manufacturers, I told them, now, if you can cut down the cost by 60%, the profit margin for manufacturing sector, for your information, is only about 5 to 10%, right? Correct? If you can cut down 60%, first thing first, you will kill all your competitors in Singapore. You can enlarge your, so-called, your market share in Singapore. You can kill every one of them. At the same time, you move into Johor Bahru or Johor, Malaysia, we have about 33 million population, right? In Singapore, we have only 6 million. Your market share, straight away, in Singapore, you got 6 million market share, right? Which maybe you can take all of them, right? Then you got another 33 million, increase another 5 times. You see that? So that's why here, to move into Johor is not only to save costs, but also to talk about enlargement of the share. Okay? Certain industry like food industry, now, if you are in food industry, you move into Johor just to do Malaysia business is wasted. Understand that? Because our halal certification in the Muslim world is world number one. You understand that? So once you move into Malaysia to start your food business, you must look into the whole world halal business already. You understand that? So your market share will be increased 100 times already. Understand that? So that's why here, in fact, we are not only helping the SME and MNC to start operation, we are trying to formulate the strategy for them, okay, to make it a success. Okay, talk about next. So when you talk about this 2025 onward, right, in 2025, in fact, we have, of course, the Prime Minister of Singapore and Malaysia, right, Lawrence Wong and our YB Anwar have signed this joint venture agreement. Like, compared to 1988, only the time our Lee Hsien Loong was Minister of international trade, and our Menteri Besar, right? The time no formal agreement was signed. It's just an informal bilateral relationship. That's already caused a big bomb. Yeah. So now this will be a bigger boom, right? I mean, supported by the both Prime Minister of Singapore and Malaysia, right? So that's why the amount of this so-called opportunity can be created can be 10 times. Okay. Now, so a lot of these participants, I think up to now, in fact, I have also, besides I my quarterly in foreign. Last time in 1988, I conduct quarterly seminar in Chinese Chamber of Commerce every quarter. Okay, I'm there to conduct this in Singapore because now we can use so-called all kind of this mechanism like Zoom, webinar, all this. So now we can conduct international seminar. Last time I used to travel to this China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore to conduct, but now I need to conduct only in Malaysia through the webinar. Okay, so every quarter we have this so-called conference, international conference to be conducted about SEZ and SFZ. Okay, so most of the talks up to now I attended. I attended also more than 20 talks. Besides, I conducted around 10 talks. I also almost attend all the talk about SEZ. Okay, most of the talk up to now, they don't talk about SFZ. Okay, today I'm going to bring all the opportunity to all of you, whether you are working class or you are bosses. Today there are two opportunities, right? Because I'm not a talker, I'm a doer. I'm actually doing it, you know. So I say, okay, as an investment advisor, okay, I help you to make money, right? As an individual and as a boss, okay? How to make the maximum amount of revenue, right? Within the shortest period. That is my opportunity also, right? And also your need, okay? You see, the past so-called 38 years, I have 1,005 those MNC, SME follow me for past 38 years, right? From starting registration until IPO all the way. You see, so why? Because I can make, okay, sorry. I can make money for them, okay?
I know, it's a very
important.
exciting presentation.
Okay.
Sharing a lot from your experience as well.
Yes.
But unfortunately, we've run out of time.
Yeah,
We've
sorry.
exceeded the
So
time
that
by
means because my talk is normally 3 hours. Today reduced to 15 minutes. That's why here, those who are interested, right, to have a total so-called experience of this so-called how to set up in the minimum time, minimum cost, and make the maximum amount of profit, you can enroll into our free international conference in October. Okay, so we have a booth at the level 2. During the session, right, break session, you can go down to our this booth there for registering yourself for our free international conference on the 14th and 15th October. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chong. Sometimes when we speak from experience, we get very passionate, we get carried into a whole history of what we have done and what we've shared. If you'd like to hear more about what Mr. Chong has shared, do find him at his booth as well. Next, please join me to welcome on stage Mr. Mark Tan, Managing Director of Stolz Engineering Private Limited, who will be presenting on enhancing effectiveness, a Singaporean enterprise's cross-border transformation journey. Mr. Tan, please.
Good morning, distinguished guests. Thank you, Singapore Poly, for the opportunity to share the story of not just growth, but of transformation, resilience, and what it means to be a Singaporean company operating beyond Singapore. Our journey is not just about cooling towers, it's about people, partnership, and the pursuit of excellence across borders. We started in 2007, and we are about 18 years old. And I hope today the sharing can help those aspiring entrepreneurs who are intending to go into JSSEZ. We hope this experience that we share can help you. So please humor me to watch a 1-minute video of our company.
We are Stolz Engineering, one of Southeast Asia's leading cooling tower service providers. Our mantra is clear: build enduring relationships and nurture our team. We're not just in the business of cooling towers.
We are in the business of keeping customers.
In the past, the race was for new customers. Now, we celebrate every customer who stays with us. When the market shifts, we don't cut corners. We double down on support, expanding our team by 15% to ensure every customer feels heard and valued. That's how we built more than 1,000 cooling towers. How are we achieving this?
By putting our people first.
Inspiring them to take the initiative.
I started as an assistant sales engineer, and now I'm one of the partners.
She joined us when we were making a name for ourselves. Today, we are known for unmatched client relationships and a workplace that puts its people first.
Stolz first started with one simple focus. That is to deliver reliable, efficient, and mission-critical cooling solutions to Singapore's top industries. We are proud to have played a major role in supplying to companies such as Micron in the semiconductor industries, Broadcom, UMC, Statships, Micron Benimir, Siltronics. We also supplied to major solar and pharmaceutical companies such as REC in Tuas, Pfizer, AbbVie, Lonza, Novartis, Roche, MSD, GSK. We also do large-scale HVAC cooling, which we categorize under district cooling, hospitals, and institutions. District cooling like Garden by the Bay, Singapore Sports Hub, Resorts World Sentosa Phase 1 and 2, Suntec City. We are also very popular with hospitals, Singapore General Hospitals, Woodlands Health Campus, Tan Tock Seng Hospital, Outram Hospitals. We even did one, the most prestigious hospital in the Maldives, Male. In terms of institutions, we supply to SUTD, SIM, Temasek Poly, Singapore American School, Raffles Girls' School. In the early years, we focused on refining our capabilities at home, delivering high-quality cooling solutions. We built our name based on trust, performance, and a relentless commitment to quality. For years, our work has largely been within Singapore. We were comfortable, stable, doing well, but that stability can be deceptive. If we continue focusing only in Singapore, we risk becoming irrelevant. We had to come out of our comfort zone in order to stay relevant. To thrive, we had to go further, not just in output, but in outlook. Our clients were expanding regionally. Projects were moving to Malaysia, Thailand, and beyond. We had to make a bold pivot from being a Singapore-based company to a regional solution provider. This was the start of our cross-border transformation. Now, we started our journey as a small SME in 2022 with revenue close to 9 million Sing. Now, the journey was not smooth. In fact, in 2023, our revenue actually dropped to close at 8 million due to the opportunity cost of our attention spent across overseas instead of locally. However, the fruits of our labor materialized in 2024 when all our contracts came in. Our efforts were paid off when our revenue multiplied 2.5 times to 24 million Sing. Now we had to ask ourselves these tough questions. How do we remain competitive across markets? How do we maintain quality while managing costs? How do we build a brand that transcends geography? Now, during my journey, this is my opinion, you will face a lot of problems, right? To be honest, it's not easy to go regional. It takes a lot of guts, and it's financially, mentally, emotionally draining. In my journey, I realized one key fundamental which is vital to the success. The culture of the company sets the vital mindset for the success of this venture. This is not a one-man show. This requires a team, and a super strong team at that. A team that is cohesive, dedicated, passionate, and all wants to go regional. This venture will test the entire company across the board, from the sales to your operations, to your accounts, to your HR. As the company faces all the challenges the moment it steps in, the leader of this team, which is the boss, has to persuade, convince, and even motivate while assembling the right people to form this task force. In order to form this team, you will need a corporate culture. A culture that is brave, determined, and prepared. And in order to cultivate this strong culture, you will need a strong HR. A HR that no longer functions just as a payroll clerk. It needs to be a strong HR that can deliver strategic objectives. It is always a challenge for us SME to acquire the best talents, as we are in the same market as the MNCs. But that doesn't mean we don't fight. We have to take the David and Goliath concept and find a way to win. And only when your corporate culture is developed and stable, where you can successfully transition your current staff mindset onto the same goal, or your HR is extremely successful in talent acquisition, in getting the talents required to form your task force team. Then I say, your company is ready to take up this challenge for success. The end point is, we want to be successful in this venture, and when you eventually succeed, you will get your multipliers on your revenue and your profits. So these are the challenges that you will face, right? You have to be familiar with the social security schemes, right? CPF in Singapore, EPF in Malaysia, Thai SSO, right? So I will just briefly go through the challenges because of the lack of time, right? You will face talent and cultural integration issues. You will face, supplier and partner ecosystem where it will take time to build the trust between your vendors and ourselves. It will take time to build the brand recognition, because in Singapore, Stoics is well known, but it may not be in Malaysia and Thailand. Right. There's difference in logistics and tax structure. And then in conclusion, basically, what don't kill us will make us stronger. Now, my key concern is, now, how do we build this team? Our biggest challenge wasn't engineering or capital. It was culture. we had to build Stoics Thailand and Stoics Malaysia not as a branch office, but as teams who believe they are as important as HQ. That belief comes from HR, ownership from culture. So, I would like to show you how we build culture in our company.
In the sky, there's always room for those who are ready to go further. 5. There's only one truth. 4. Sooner or later, you have to make a choice. 3. And only the one who's ready to risk everything can truly understand what it costs to be at the top. 1. Nobody can do what we do. The sky presents a challenge, and we accept it.
Now, for those who are interested in how we build our culture, right, now, you can log on to, you can see this chart. Your company's culture is not words on the website or posters. It's how your people feel on a Sunday night. So, you know, if you're interested to see how we build our culture, it's a QR code to go to our TikTok channel. Right, nowadays, we have to be relevant. You know, as an engineering company, we have to involve with TikTok as well, because we have to engage with the young people. The young people is our future. Yeah, some people say they're strawberry, but they're sweet, right? So it's about how to manage them, how we can integrate with them, right? I also want to take some time to talk about the difference between efficiency and effectiveness. Right. Now, efficiency is doing things right, while effectiveness is doing the right things. You can be efficient, but if you're not effective, you will not get the results you want. Similarly, you can be effective, but not efficient. It will mean you have a lot to improve. Now, once we identify the difference between the two, we want to achieve both. Just like what you see in the top right quadrant. Now, in the case of Stoics, we started from trial and error by attempting to engage cross-border markets without local partners. We were inefficient and ineffective. Slowly we learned we have to work with local partners. And then we became more effective, but still inefficient. Finally, we had to develop our local teams in the cross-boundary markets to improve our efficiency. Now, I still remember in the start of our journey in 2022, I would like to thank Mr. Vinod from MIDA, who has helped us significantly during our cross-boundary journey. Mr. Vinod is a very important man, and I believe you have the opportunity to see him in action today during this conference. Now today, Stoics operates from Singapore from our main office in Genting Lane. We also operate across Thailand. We invested in a freehold 4-story shophouse in Bangkok, which we strongly believe will appreciate significantly in future due to the proximity of the future MRT line. We rent out the first floor to F&B to collect rental, and we use the rest of the levels 2 to 4 as office space. Now, having the property apart from investments allow us to use the office while extending it as a financial instrument for banking facility. In the same manner, Stoics invested in a freehold factory in JB as compared to Singapore. Most, if not all, the industrial properties are leasehold in Singapore. Used to be 60, now it's 30, some as low as 20 years. For businesses that require space, there is no doubt you should utilize the opportunities in JB, where the properties are all freehold. Our 1 acre factory allowed us the space we never had before. And I truly believe that the prices for industrial real estate in JB will continue to rise as Singapore's cost of land continue to increase. Similarly, like in Thailand, apart from the investment, the factory can still be functional and can be used as collateral for bank facilities. We value it so much that we even hired a reputable Singapore architect, Hyla, Hyla, Mr. Han Lok Kwan, who is the principal architect for Hyla, to redesign, reconstruct the facade of the factory. So we're extremely proud of our Malaysian factory. It's something that we can't have in Singapore. Yeah. Now, as we move forward, our cross-boundary journey is far from over. The next phase of our transformation lies in sustainability, digital engineering, and strategic partnership. We aim to become not just a supplier, but a solution provider. To evolve on how we can deliver better, we will continue to enhance effectiveness and efficiency. And to my team at Stoics, this journey would not be possible without your passion, your grit, your hunger to improve. And to our partners and clients, thank you for believing in us, walking this path with us, and pushing us to do better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tan. I never knew building a culture would be so exciting. So, jumping out of a plane is quite a metaphorical, but in Stoics, clearly a very literal way of building new culture. But at the same time, what it demonstrates is the amount of trust in each other that is required. To trust someone so deeply that you will jump out of a plane with them, I think that is the level of trust, and that's the level of culture that is built at Stoics, which I think is really, really a very beautiful way to put it. So let's give you another big round of applause, Mr. Tan. For our final presentation in this segment, please join me in welcoming Mr. Najmi Nordin, Chief Talent Officer of J-Corp, Chairman of Johor Skills, and Council Member of the Johor Talent Development Council. He'll be presenting on what enterprises need to know, policies, talent support, technology trends, and internationalization. Mr. Nordin, please.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. It's a bit awkward session, to be honest, coming from Johor this morning. There is an old Johor, if you understand what I'm saying, and there is a new Johor. The old Johor is based on this idea that, you know, you need some things to get things done. It's based on old beliefs. It's about talking about history and the past. We are now the new Johor, and we are talking about professionalism, leading the way in terms of business efficiency, reducing red tape across the board. That is the things that we are aspiring for. And most importantly, speaking to a multinational organization such as Singapore Poly, we don't tolerate bigotry in the new Johor, right? I think I need to set that out clear, and I recommend businesses who are thinking about moving and operating in Johor to really consider the partners that you have or you are thinking about to go into Johor. Because I can assure you that after today, there will be certain partners from the old Johor that will no longer be tolerated in Johor. I hope that message is clear and received by everyone. And I also applaud the organizer for, putting together this, but I urge, moving forward for us to have a little bit of, how should I say, a filter operation. I am the Chief Talent Officer, so I look into human resource matters across the group. I always say, to Singaporeans, if you want to know Johor Corporation, if you look at your KFC here in Johor, in Singapore, that belongs to Jacob, right? So just an example of the kind of businesses that we are in. I'm also the chairman for Johor Skills. We've done a bit of work with Singapore Poly, and we're very happy to see the quick rollout of our programs here. And finally, I am a member here to represent the Johor Talent Development Council. And I hope that my presentation today will convince the audience on the potential for them to invest in Johor from a talent perspective. If you look at the total Malaysia's labour workforce, it's been increasing year by year. It's growing, and it's a relatively young workforce with about close to 70%, actually more than 70% participation rate. The labor force in Malaysia is supported by the education institutions. Now, it will be unfair for me to come here and talk about how great our education system is, because compared to Singapore, which is globally recognized as one of the best, we still have a lot of catching up to do. But regionally, if you're thinking about opening and setting up office within the Southeast Asia region, I think you can't go further than Malaysia as an opportunity with the best proximity in terms of not just location, but also the talent gap between the education system in Singapore and the education system in Malaysia. In fact, in most of the global rankings of universities, with the exception of Singapore and one or two universities in Thailand, the second and third place is usually a Malaysian university. Now, for Johor in particular, we actually have the second largest labour force in Malaysia with about 2 million active participants in the labour market. What's more interesting is 60% of our labour force is between the age of 20 to 39 years old, right? And I urge you to think about this when you think about expanding regionally. You have a fairly stable democracy with a very young workforce that are trained almost similar to the education system in Singapore, with a strong emphasis on the English language. These are some of the key factors that could probably convince you to set up operations here in Johor. Now, Johor itself is quite fortunate because we actually have one of the best technical and engineering universities in Malaysia. We have a representative here from UTM. We also have a very good research university in UTHM. And these two means that out of the 27,000 graduates that come out of Johor State every year, almost half of them are in the STEM field. So for those who are interested in manufacturing, electrical, engineering, etc., we produce some of the best in Malaysia. In fact, our main challenge, and people always say there's no talent in Johor, but the truth is, all the good talents come to Singapore or Penang. You know what I'm saying, right? So it is not about the issue of capabilities of the graduates. UTM graduates are almost 100% employed. They produce some of the best mechatronics engineers in the world, apparently. This is actually validated. So, but they will grab opportunities for higher value industries that are currently operating in Penang, in Singapore. It's not about them just leaving for money, but it's the opportunity. So for you, investors with businesses in the higher level of the value chain, Johor is more than ready to support your investments into Johor. Now, this is just a brief slide to share how similar we are to each other. I think you have your O levels here. We have our SPM, etc. English is a strong part of our education system. But I also like to touch on our vocational training. In Malaysia, there's a conventional and vocational training track. We start as young as Form 3 or is 13, 14 years old, right? There's a vocational track for those who are interested. And what we intend to do, especially under the Johor Talent Development Council, is to bring investors closer to the school leavers, right? So that they can make the right decisions, especially if they are less academically inclined, but more interested in the technical work under TVET. The talent support in Malaysia, basically we are, free education up to Form 5. Even for the bulk of our public university is supported by the federal government, and so the fees are relatively low. But in terms of funding for higher education, we have a national fund that you borrow money from and you pay over the course of 20 to 30 years of your lifetime. In terms of workforce talent development, we have what is known as the Human Resource Development Fund, HRD fund, where companies will put in money as a percentage of the salaries that they pay. So this is meant specifically for upskilling and reskilling programs for your particular company. I'll explain about this a bit later. The talent ecosystem in Malaysia is vast, it's very, in this case, it's not similar to Singapore, right? We have many ministries involved, but the main ones for education is the Ministry of Education, for higher education is the Ministry of Higher Education, and then for workforce development is the Ministry of Human Resource. Now, of course, within Malaysia's context, we have Ministry of Youth and Sports, which also does TVET training. We've got a few other, agriculture also does some TVET training. And trying to coordinate between this is a challenge for potential investors, but this is where the Johor Talent Development Council comes into the picture. In terms of the future talent development policies in Malaysia, we have the education blueprint, which you can download online if you find it. But I think it's a step in the right direction that we are now talking about artificial intelligence, automation, etc. Now, again, there is a gap. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of visiting AI Singapore over at NUS. Very impressive setup, and the funny thing is you guys set up your national AI strategic blueprint way back in 2018, right? And for us in Malaysia, we just opened our national AI office, NAIO, I think this year or last year. So there's a gap there. But we are moving, we are accepting that AI is going to be the next great enabler. And for us in Johor, if you look at our target to be the most developed state in Malaysia by 2030, which is 5 years down the line, that means we want to be more developed than KL, we want to be more developed than Selangor. For that to happen, artificial intelligence is that great multiplier, the one that can give you that exponential growth. And we are willing to put our money where our mouth is, from Johor Corporation all the way to Johor Skills and Johor Talent Development Council, to develop this capability within Johor, inshallah. Now, talking about Johor, I am very proud to let everyone know that in 2024, for the first time in our history, the Johor state has the highest growing GDP in Malaysia, right, at 6.4%. Thank you for the clap, although it's not mine, right? But I think at 6.4%, if you were to calculate the kind of GDP growth that we need every year for us to achieve a developed state status by 2030, we call it the Maju Johor 2030 plan. It requires a GDP growth of close to 7%. So we are not that far off. And this year, I think in the first quarter, thanks to people like Vinod and Maida and bringing in all the investment for IMF, CJ, etc., we are already on track to reach close to 100 billion in foreign direct investment commitment into Johor for 2025. So Alhamdulillah, and I think yesterday and today, our Chief Minister is busy in Singapore, meeting ministers from across your government. And that is the mood that we have, right? We want to work together with Singapore to make sure that this Johor Singapore Special Economic Zone works. And why we say that? Because unlike previous iteration where we talk about Johor being a property play, right? You come in and you just buy because the land is cheap. I think the aspiration for the Johor Singapore Special Economic Zone is beyond that. We believe that we provide not just cheap lands and cheap labor. Of course, you see like me, I work 3 jobs, but I only earn 1 salary, right? And if you divide it by the Singapore currency, I earn even less. But we want to grow together, right? Because we understand Singapore has its constraints, but Johor also has its aspirations. We want to be, our chief executive of Johor Corporation, Datuk Said, always say, because our office is at the Causeway, so he always says that, doesn't it pain you to wake up every morning and look across and see Singapore, a fully developed nation state? Don't you want to be like them? And that is the message that we have across the leadership team in Johor today. And so we want to learn, we want to work together, but we want also Singapore investors to accept that the partnership moving forward is not going to be like before. It's going to be something that we work together to improve the conditions for both Singapore firms and the state of Johor. Which is why, we refer back to His Royal Highness Tengku Ismail and his message that investors coming into Johor must aspire to give more than what is currently being paid for locally. It will still be very cheap for international firms. But what we want to do is we want to uplift the median salaries of Johorians. We want to improve the standards of living there. And hopefully that will allow you as well as investors to have the comfort of retaining talent and not start, be worried about them migrating within Johor. Which is where Johor Talent Development Council comes into the picture. As you recall earlier, I shared that, institutions and agencies and government ministries, there's a lot that deals with talent development in Malaysia. And so it becomes very clear that for Johor to stand out, to be different, we need to do something that is unprecedented. And the Johor Talent Development Council is an unprecedented council which combines both the federal and state agencies trying their best. I can't say that we have done it, it's a long process, but what we are trying to do is trying to shape the future of talent development in Johor based on what we need, right, for the state. So what we do is we combine people from government, we connect with university students, we connect with institutions, and try to work together to craft intervention policies, training programs, job matching opportunities for not just investors but also for the benefit of the Johorians. And our main goal is to move up our starting salaries for our graduates. It's only Sing dollar 1,000 to 1,200, right? But for us in Johor, it is a leap forward, and we aspire to earn or have that holding power similar to what Penang and Kuala Lumpur is currently offering. So what kind of intervention or facilitation that we can help you with? Number one, investors coming in can specify their talent demands when they have a discussion with IMFCJ and members from MIDA and Invest Johor. And from there onwards, it is hopefully, the job of JTDC to help you source for those potential talents in the next few years, because it will take some time for you to set up your factories. So as soon as you come in and you work with IMFCJ, please let us know what are your talent needs and demands, and we'll try our best to work with the local training providers to prepare our workforce for your needs. We've also got funds to deploy for upskilling and reskilling, specific for Johor. And so companies coming in, if you have, or companies already operating in Johor, where you have an opportunity that you want to take up for your employees or future employees, please come and talk to us. So what we have done so far is a lot of partnerships, and specifically, I'm very proud to see that Johor Skills have worked. In fact, we started negotiations with ITE of Singapore in last year, and as of today, we already have a working relationship with Singapore Poly. I think we did an actual training program delivered by Singapore Poly in Johor for 140 workers of a factory that is set up by a Singapore firm in Johor. So you can see how it works. We also have a same relationship with Republic Polytechnic, and I'm very pleased to also inform that our trainers in Johor Skills is also now certified to deliver ITE of Singapore programs in 2 fields. So these are small steps, but as we move forward, we want to collaborate more. In fact, last week we met with Temasek Foundation, and probably we have something in the pipeline to work together with Yayasan Jacob, Johor Skills, and UTM, UTHM, and all the other higher learning institutions. So we welcome investors to come to Johor. We have just recently closed a funding round for the transformation of Johor Skills Pasir Gudang campus with a Singapore-based firm. And so any other Singapore firms currently thinking about moving into Johor and you want to do your CSR bid, you can come and contribute to the Johor Talent Development Council. Right? Come and see us. We've got institutions that requires equipments, that wants to be upgraded, because we want to deliver the same training experience that you have here in Singapore over in Johor. That's our main goal. And I hope that you can be a part of that journey as well. So that ends my presentation. I would just like to leave it with one last message that, the Menteri Besar always say, great effort requires different kind of work commitment. You can't do the same thing expecting the same result. And so while we may come up here and speak, these are very high conceptual, but on the ground, we need to work hard to give that effort for everyone. And I know it's not going to be easy, and I'm not here to answer all. I don't want after this you come and ask me, I need 2 workers. I'm not a job agency guy, right? But I am here to help you on a big scale on your needs over in the state of Johor. And I hope that today's presentation can convince you that there are sufficient talent in Johor. It's just a matter of tapping them as early as you can. And we'll help you find that. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Nordin. I want to take a moment to recognize what Mr. Nordin has shared with all of us, and also link back a little bit to what Mr. Mark Tan shared earlier. There is efficiency and effectiveness. There is doing the right thing, and there is doing things right. And what Mr. Nordin did took a significant amount of courage. A lot of times, awkward moments can come and pass. Different times while we're doing different things. But to stand firm, to have that commitment, that integrity of character, and to have that clarity, to share what you felt, and to put a stop to misconceptions that people can have. That was a very powerful message, and a very powerful sharing and understanding of character, which is a key part of going into business with people, and especially as 2 nations come together. It is very, very, very heartening to see that as an example for all the young people here. So let's give Mr. Nordin once more a big round of applause. We now turn our attention to something that's very relevant, the next segment of today's program, our plenary panel discussion. Now, going global can help businesses access new customers, unlock collaboration opportunities, grow their enterprises. We've heard from all our speakers earlier today that there is opportunity in Johor and Singapore to work together. With Malaysia as our closest neighbor and Singapore and one of Singapore's largest trading partners, expanding across the border is a natural and strategic first step. Still, challenges remain. And 2 of those challenges that we'd like to address today are skilled manpower and technology adoption. This panel will explore how the industry as a gatekeeper of technology expertise, can work together with academia and trade associations to build talent pipelines and support workforce upskilling and reskilling. Now, these efforts are further enabled by policies and initiatives driven by supporting agencies. Now, we are honored to be joined by a distinguished panel of experts who will share their insights, experiences, and ideas. And before we meet our panelists, please allow me to introduce our moderator for this session. Please welcome Ms. Renee Tan, Chairperson of Advanced Innovation and Manufacturing Asia, Managing Director of Hashtags, and Partner in AI International Institute. All right, so now let's meet our panelists. Now, each panelist brings a unique perspective and valuable expertise. First up, I'd like to invite Mr. Mark Tan, Managing Director, Stolz Engineering Private Limited. Mr. Najmi Nordin, Chief Talent Officer, J Corp, Chairman, Johor Skills, and Council Member, Johor Talent Development Council. Mr. Tho Sir Kun, Senior Director, Engineering Cluster, Singapore Polytechnic, and Managing Director, SP International and Institute for Financial Literacy. Mr. Lennon Tan, President, Singapore Manufacturing Federation and Group Chairman, Adara Global Group. And last but not least, Mr. Vinodhan Tulisinathan, Minister Councillor, Investment and Director, Malaysian Investment Development Authority. All right, we have our panel. Let's give them another big round of applause. And over to you, Renee.
All right, thank you. Great morning, everyone. I'm really honored to moderate today's session, and thank you to Automation SG and Singapore Poly for this great opportunity. Now, you've seen the presentation this morning, and the JSSEZAC marks a turning point in cross-border collaboration, with trade between Singapore and Malaysia growing year on year, and Johor is attracting the highest approved investments in Malaysia, especially in manufacturing and data centers. And now with 20,000 skilled jobs targeted under the JSSEZAC and Johor contributing significantly to the national GDP, the region is rapidly positioning itself as a hub for innovation and high-tech growth. But momentum alone isn't enough. The real challenge lies in aligning talent, technology, and strategy across borders. Now, we're joined together today by an exceptional multi-stakeholders panel of leaders driving that alignment, where we have local Singapore businesses, government, academia, and the Manufacturing Federation, who will be sharing important insights with us. But I'd like this to be an interactive session, so all of you would see this QR code. You may post your questions there, and later we're going to read out some of the relevant questions to this panel. All right, let's get started. Now, my very first question to our panel is, now, what does going global mean for businesses in the Johor Singapore SEZAC, and what are the immediate opportunities, challenges, and risks businesses must prepare in this climate? Let's start with you first, and then we go down the row. Yeah.
Well, first of all, like what we heard just now, the first opportunity, of course, you see there is a lower cost in the land and the labor, right? So the moment you go over and you operate from there, you straight away you have a 60% savings, right? And that could translate to maybe at least 15-20% of your total project cost. Yeah, so that is the initial part, right? And then, there's a lot of other potential where you can see, if you want to increase your revenue, then you need to increase the market. So you have a market in Malaysia, right? If you go region, of course, you have Thailand as well, right? But your immediate neighbor is Malaysia. So I think that's the first opportunity you get. Yeah.
All right, and Mr. Najmi, what are your thoughts on this?
On the part of Johor Corporation, I think just last week we signed an agreement to explore opportunities to develop properties over in Australia as well for student housing. So we do have that global aspiration, but the bulk of our efforts and investments are in Malaysia and in the state of Johor, and there's huge opportunities for growth. How we see this partnership within the JSSEZ is going to look like is, what we want is global firms that are already or are planning to move into Singapore to also consider Johor as a destination for them to place some part of their operations in. And so Johor will become more globalized in terms of the type of business entities that comes into the picture. It's not just Singapore. We are attracting investments mostly from China, from Japan, and currently also we are talking to some European firms as well. So for Johor, as a Johor, what we think about when going global is bringing global companies into Johor as much as possible.
And how about Sir Kun?
Okay,
Yeah.
right. So first of all, being a host, just want to say a very warm welcome to Singapore Polytechnic and also my close partners, UTM, UTHM, SUC, and whatever. Thank you for coming. Welcome. Yes. All right. Yes. So indeed, when I look at this global thing, is we should look beyond Johor and Singapore. It is about two partners coming together, okay, leveraging on these integrated ecosystems, and then to access to the international markets out there, all right? And in these times of challenges, uncertainties, and then these tariffs, I think it is even more important for two countries, especially Johor, Singapore. We are so close, and we should complement on each other systems, and we have our strengths and weakness, and we need partners to come together, all right? And then to come together in solidarity, and to attract, business and investments into this region. Yeah, so that to me is going global. Yeah.
Fantastic. And Mr. Lennon?
Thanks, Renee. I think that for most Singapore business here, I think starting from the 90s, we're already starting to look at Singapore plus one. While the Singapore market was growing at a very rapid rate, when we attained a plateau in roughly about 90s, early 2000s, most businesses will look at potentially expanding overseas for growth, for many reasons. Cost saving, as what Mark was saying, and more importantly is, I would just say not really for the cost reason, but really to expand your products and services beyond our borders. And of course, you tap on talents overseas as you expand overseas, as well as new markets as you do that. Obviously, the challenges will be one of which, and this is something that we are addressing right now. If you talk to a lot of managers, hey, we're expanding into Thailand, can you locate over there? You get a mixed answer. Not many of them will jump at the opportunity, even though the opportunity is good. So that's why right now we have the Global Talents Program, whereby we are sending them out early, sending the junior guys out early to have that overseas experience. So when you expand overseas, they are more willing to take up that opportunity.
And how about Mr. Vinodhan?
Yeah, before that, I just wanted to say thank you to the organizer for inviting me. I'm coming here for the second time. Last year I was also here. Thank you very much. I was given an opportunity. During that time, we were formulating the agreement of JSEZ, and today, past almost 1 year now, we signed the agreement in January, but the work started way back, right? As you all know, a year ago. And happy to be here again, with the amazing panelists as well, Ms. Rennie. So my take on this is that, so I would like to call it, in my phrase, I would like to call it Johor, the new dimension, right? And because it is not something we are starting from scratch, it has already, amazing development has been ongoing, in Johor for so many years, like what my good friend mentioned, during the Singapore Plus and all of that. And going global is basically because Johor, and especially JCZ, it is in a very, very strategic area and a platform, because it's not only serving the MNCs in Malaysia, it's also servicing the MNCs in Singapore. So that is where the supply chain plays an important role, where the tier 1, tier 2 companies can actually leverage on Johor proximity because of Singapore. Because my good partner here, EDB, is here, Ms. Kasarina. We've always been discussing about this. We have very strong partnership in attracting to make Malaysia and Singapore as a regional investment destination for investors who are coming outside from the region, right? This is the goal, and we believe this model can be deployed across ASEAN, actually, And of course, there's always challenges and all that. When you talk about talent, it's something that is always a very prominent topic. I'm trying to go to Johor, but I cannot get talent. I cannot, because most of them are working in Singapore. It's a typical sentiments that we always hear. But the actual fact is we have enough talent. It's just that the job that we want our guys to, Johorians especially, to work is on a different side, because the target is different. We are looking at more high-value manufacturing. We are looking at more supply chain tier 1s. We are looking at digital economy and all that. I always like to use this example, if you may. I always tell to my good friend here. See, I've encountered a company who wants to set up a warehouse in Johor. It's fantastic, okay. And what do you want to do? I just want to set up a warehouse, and I'm going to do simple activities, which is doing packaging and labeling. And why is the reason you want to go there? Because I can get cheap labor. Right? So that mindset is no more in Johor. So definitely you will not be able to get Malaysians to work. Because the Malaysians rather work in Singapore to do the same activities. But the same scenario, if you have a warehouse, and it is a smart warehouse, it is an integrated warehouse with IoTs and all of this stuff inside there, we can get the right employee to be there. Plus we also have incentive for you. So this is the thing that we wanted to instill this in investors' point of view, to understand that it's a new dimension now, basically. Yeah. Thank you.
So we're curious how to tackle this new dimension. And that leads us to the next question on what are the top gaps you see in talent readiness for Industry 4.0, and how should cross-border initiatives tackle these? All right, this also, there is one question from the audience, which we could also share on what is the plan for Singapore talent in JSSEZ. I know some of the businesses here, you have Singapore business as well as overseas. You can also share your opinion on this. So shall we start with Mark, because you've grown stalls engineering across Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand. What challenges did you face? Being regional, and how did you overcome the talent and tech barriers?
Okay, now first of all, expanding stores across Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand presents some unique challenges. We have our primary hurdles are the technical skills, and then how to ensure seamless technological interface. So for us, the first part is our key knowledge, our domain knowledge is all in Singapore. How can we replicate this in Malaysia and Thailand? All right, that is our first problem. So we also had to consider, before we started the new markets in Malaysia and Thailand, we had to face a planning stage. So what we did was, in our planning stage, we had to meticulously define the scope of work. And then we had to find suitable properties. location of the office or the factory, so that you can make sure you can get staff. I was just mentioning to Renee earlier, like location. Would you want to locate it in Iskandar or just 5 minutes away from the checkpoint, or you want to locate it in Sinai? So it depends on your plan, right? So like what Mr. Vinod said, if today I stay in Ang Mo Kio, how much pay increase should I get to work in Tuas? 20, 30%? Or maybe 40% for me to change my job to Tuas? Now, if I can change my job to Tuas for 40%, why don't I cross the bridge at 3.5 times? So you have to plan carefully where you want to locate. The location is important, right? So we also had to, what is it called? Let me see. We had to look into the job, the staffing roles, right? From technical engineering roles to administrative support. And then we had also to look into the business registrations, right? So for us in Malaysia, we took a phased talent approach, meaning to say, we send our local Singaporean staff over to the borders, and then we oversee the operations first. Then concurrently, we focus on the training of the local Malaysian staff to execute the technical work. Now, what we want to do is eventually we want the Malaysian counterpart staff to be able to assume the management positions, right? Now, for Thailand, we took a different approach. We do more localization and immersion approach. We set up the office there, we found a location, and then we had a Thai director there, and then we hired the Thai engineers and salespeople. They came to Singapore to immerse and train inside our Singapore local company so that they can absorb the company culture, the technical standards, the operation processes, so that when they can go back and then develop the business locally. Then for myself, for Thailand, I have to travel every month. I go there to provide support as well as to drive growth. Then on the technical portion, technical barriers. Now, I mean, we have to use cloud. I mean, the power of cloud, right? Nowadays, we must use teleconferencing. We must use, for us, we use Microsoft 365 with the shared drives and the Microsoft Teams. So that helps us to do our work seamlessly so that we can communicate every time, every Tuesday of the second week of the month, we have an OPD meeting involving Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore. So everyone is together, So basically through your Teams, Microsoft Teams, and then we make sure we can try to execute the work as smoothly as possible together. So communication is very important. So using technology to overcome all these barriers. Yeah.
So you still retain Singapore talent, and then you do knowledge and skill transfer to your overseas branches, something along that
That's
line,
right. So the Singapore talent is still important.
Crucial.
Yes, but my question here is how, like Leonard was saying, how can I get the staff to be willing to go to Thailand? You know what I mean? So that's how we have to persuade and then convince them the opportunity, But I guess it also depends on the age range. If, as younger staff, younger talents, perhaps they're more willing to go to get experience and things like that. In fact, I did this, we call exchange program, right? Thailand engineers come to Singapore. Singapore engineers go to Thailand, So we do an exchange program, right? That gives them the exposure. And for young people, they like that kind of exposure too. So this is also one way to prevent talent drain, right? Managing talent, managing culture is very interesting. And I fully believe in this. When you have a strong team, when you have all those people that jump down the plane with you, whatever problems you face, don't worry, they will be solved. Yeah. So I think that's coming from me, from a human perspective, that's very important.
All right. So for Mr. Nashmi, with good talent comes with good training, right, and upskilling. So with JCOP's involvement at both corporate and state levels, how is the Johor Skills Development Centre aligning its training programs with real industry demands, particularly for cross-border operations?
It's not my style to sugarcoat things, right? So I'll be very completely honest. You know, when I first came in, Johor Skills requires a lot of investment. You know, we started benchmarking against ITE of Singapore and Penang Skills Development Centre, very successful TVET centre operating in Penang. And that journey started 1 year ago. So that includes also curriculum adjustment, alignment, etc. with the industry. And we are very happy that this year, you know, they finally form a industry advisory board. So we have members, including Singapore companies, becoming part of our advisory council to ensure that the programs or the kind of initiatives that we are undertaking will be driven by the industry. And that is the positioning for Johor Skills in particular. It will be slightly different for the different higher learning institutions. Some will be more academic in nature. But for Johor Skills, the main goal here is to align our training programs with the demands of the industry specifically. Especially not just for new, but also for upskilling and reskilling of existing workers. I think that is the clear mission statement for Johor Skills, and they are working hard to work on that, including partnership with Singapore Poly and other institutions as well.
All right, so let's talk about the institutions, right? What are they doing differently? Especially for Singapore Poly, partnering with industries to bridge the gap between academic learning and hands-on innovation. So can you please share your point?
Well, okay, in Singapore Polytechnic, okay, thanks to all my colleagues, you know, all right, they join us, but I want to tell all of you that they never leave industry, okay, because we recognize that for SP to stay relevant, you know, to the nation's economic development, as well as the keeping in pace with the industry needs and demands, you know, is very important. So having a close collaboration with industry is a must. Okay, and today, if you have times, you know, not only at the booth but able to walk around our campus, you will see that the industry footprint in the campus is huge. All right, we have many MNCs, you know, co-locates their trainings over here. Okay, all right, and our job is to see how we can transfer, you know, the emerging technologies, you know, and knowledge, you know, all right, package it, you know, and then escalate down to the SMEs and to the students, of course, all right. So we walk around the industry, and industry always will be telling us where are our graduates, and that's where Leonard talking that, you know, about very difficult to attract talents to manufacturing in the face of so many other industries. There is bigger names like Google and so forth, all right? And also Mark saying that how many of them really, even in this crowd here, so the students here say, oh, I will want to leave this from comfort land and go to Johor and whatever. So we realize that it is very important to prepare our graduates to be work-ready, life-ready, and world-ready. And in order to go this and to make sure I have the talent supplies, you know, supporting Mark, you know, supporting Leonard, I think it is important to start it right now here, okay? And so we go, you know, very strongly, okay, to all over ASEAN, China, India, Johor, yeah, right, to send our students, you know, for student exchange, for even now we have module credit transfer and so forth, okay? And also for overseas internship, all right? So we are very glad that, for example, our partnership with Taisings, you know, right, where our students have opportunities, you know, to have an overseas internship to taste there. And our exchange with UTM, you know, UTHM, all these are very valuable because we now have allow our students to have this cross-cultural understanding and exchange. And that will only able to do good and enable them to see, you know, to shape their global mindsets, you know, and I think this is the key thing, all right? Now, so what I appeal to is the industries to continue to support Singapore Polytechnic, you know, to open opportunities, you know, for our students, you know, to go to do internships. And if you have good problem statements, you know, we welcome. In fact, today, all my staff and students are working on real problem, okay? Real industry problems. And there are many examples. If you can have time, go to our booth. Those are examples from the industries where our students and staff POC, proof value it, you know, and today they are ready. And we have even a package for the SMEs, you know, solution package, you know, such that they can just plug and play in that way. So that's how we stay relevant and hope to you know, close the gap. But having gap is good thing for IHLs, you know, like us, because it spurs us to continuously on the move, you know, and because it is a lifelong learning for every one of us. Yeah.
And besides upskilling talent that businesses employ, even employers need to be upskilled,
Yes.
right? And SMF has several initiatives and programs, be it on sustainability, AI, or even digital transformation. And I know you wear two hats, right? Running businesses as well. So perhaps you could share on the standpoint, on the direction that we should be taking in terms of upskilling.
Thanks, Renee. Maybe I'll still answer the talent gaps that potentially we see for us, for Singapore businesses going over. Then we talk a little bit about upskilling. You know, businesses are very practical. The very fact that we want to invest or expand close by to home, like Singapore, means that they want to leverage on what they have in Singapore as they expand into the SEZ. For example, most of them tell, hey, actually, instead of, you know, to develop really a plant manager, take 10 years. Mark, you know that, right? To really hand over a plant to take 10 years or more, depending on this person's talent. So if I expand my plant over there, I would like to use my current plant manager, take a day trip 135 to the SEZ, come back by the day, at the end of the day. So one request very early on to MIDA, to our both side government, is that there must be an ease of movement of people and goods. So it means that, you know, spending 1 hour at the causeway is fine, right? But not 3 hours one way, right? So I think, so when that happens, the two regions will be a lot more integrated. I think this will come by when the RTS comes through and so on. But, you know, as we are building up towards this, so when the Singapore, your experienced manager go over, they can train up the local team, and by they can go autonomous. Now, second suggestion would be one that perhaps MIDA, EDB can consider something like JSSEZ, a apprenticeship pass. So it allows Singapore young engineers to go into Johor for 6 months, you know, to work at our companies, and vice versa. So this pass enables a good exchange of talent on both sides, and without changing the whole structure of work passes and so on. Third, perhaps one of which we look at skill sets that potentially can be portable. For example, SkillsFuture, the microcredits credential that you obtain from SkillsFuture and JSkills can be interswapable or stackable. I think this is more practical because you know, you can have a base training, but sometimes businesses need specific skills to expand. So those are my suggestions. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Renee, can I add to Leonard?
Sure.
Yeah. Just now Leonard was mentioning about the jam, right? Would you like to hear something, a mistake which I made?
Sure. Mistakes? Yeah, from business owner? Yeah, sure.
I mean, challenges we go and encounter, right? We go and challenge them.
Okay.
So, like what Leonard said, so everyday jam is a big problem. So, we went, I thought, why not we buy a second-hand yacht, and then we just sail across from Raffles Marina and then Putri Harbour and done, you know? But then after that, after we bought it, we realized, the immigration is at West Coast. I need to go West Coast Pier to do immigration. I need to submit to MPA to get approval. And then to go to Puteri Harbour and clear immigration in Malaysia. So it was very troublesome. So that was a big mistake. So end up, now the yacht becomes a team building vehicle. So the staff actually make use of the boat more than me. Yeah, but we use it as a team building. We'll see our TikTok, you'll realize, right? So anyway, if anyone is interested in the boat, please let me know. I'm selling very cheap.
Please continue to use it for team building. Right, and...
okay, one more thing. So
yes.
I wanted to add. So we can't use my boat, right? I can't use your own boat, right? How about we have water taxis? You know, when you go to Maldives, all islands. So what you do, you just hop onto the taxi, in the water taxi, you just go across. So maybe water taxi, perhaps the capital investment is cheaper than the rail, right? Water taxi is, can be another alternative as well, you know what I mean? Yeah, thanks.
Wow. Creative ideas here. And now to Mr. Vinodhan, right? Share with us the role that MIDA plays in enabling these tech-based and talent-driven investment flows in the GSSEZ, and how can businesses tap into these resources effectively? Yep.
Yeah. Before I go to the question, let me address some of the...
Sure.
Yes, it is, especially on the passes and all that. So under the JCZ, we have this Rantau Nomad passes, which is available. It is not only for tech professionals, it is also for professionals in other sectors, especially for JCZ. There's an enhancement for this, right? And I mean, each of these JCZ, we have a working group, right? The working group of, not so sexy the name is mobility, goods and people, and movement of goods and people kind of thing. We continuously, have engagement on this kind of matters, because this is not this is for a long run, yeah, right? We are not here for, okay, after we sign the agreement, that's it, everything goes by itself, no. That's why it's a continuous improvement will be undertaken from time to time when we review, and that is why we have a review we are planning to have, every 6 months, if I'm not mistaken, right? So the congestion is something, yeah, it is there, but I think it has improved a lot, especially from Singapore side on the QR code. Malaysia is also embarking into QR code as well. If you're a passenger, if you're who's taking a bus, it goes by QR code. For passenger vehicle, not yet, because they are finalizing on the, it's called My Border Pass. Finalizing on the equipments, I guess, for the thing. But we are not only QR code, we are also scanning, eyes, retina scanning as well. So one step ahead we are trying to do. Right? But all this again is to make sure that the ease of movement of people is there. Right? And of course, RTS is coming. There's also a potential RTS too. I don't know, I'm just throwing out the idea, right? So from time to time, the connectivity will improve, don't worry. Of course, the yacht is a good idea, or even the water taxi. In fact, I'm talking to a company now from Nordic countries actually looking into this. But has not come into a strong proposal yet. But it is an idea that we are trying to take for Singapore and Johor as well, right? But as we move on, we will know about it. Yeah. Now, from MIDA's perspective, right? Okay, don't get me wrong, folks. Academia folks, please don't get me wrong. In the past, right? I used to be in Silicon Valley. I spent about 5 years there. I realized that, the academia outcome and the industry needs, there's always a gap there, right? It happens in Silicon Valley as well. So it also was happening quite, the gap was quite a bigger gap in Malaysia as well, in the past. But then the universities, the academia, the institutions start to realize that, because we are bringing in investment, billions of investments are coming in, especially in the high manufacturing, right? when you talk about semiconductor, it's so dynamic, you know, it moves on, you know. If you can't shrink the chips anymore, now people are stacking the chips, right? So the technology is evolving, and you need this kind of right talent to be there. And this is where we look at Singapore. And Singapore has this amazing system where you have the industry linkage programs between universities and industry, where the industry folks are able to, you know, tweak the syllabus according to their requirement. And this is an amazing concept that Singapore did it, and we started it. In fact, in MIDA, 10 years ago, we established a division called Industry Talent Management and Expert Trade Course. The whole idea is to, initially it was just to collect a database and to see who are the things, but then we realized we can do more, because data is an amazing, right? If you don't mind or exploit the data properly, it can actually lead to another awesome things that you can do. And we start to do this matching, and the industry companies were very excited about this. And in fact, I think JTDC is also looking into the AI. The system that you're using is a fantastic system, you know. So we started with that, and what do you know, that we were able to address this talents gap actually. So investors that come into Malaysia, you know, let's say in semiconductor industry, so there's a certain set of skills that needed for chemicals, for, you know, mechanicals, for E&E engineers. And we were able to do this kind of programs to bridge it, and the best part is the employee has a guarantee of job, you know. And we've started to do this very often. I mean, any company, but it is more to whole over Malaysia, right? When JCZ started, we realized that, you know, two things that came from the federal government, yeah? One is the IMFCJ. IMFCJ was started in Klang Valley, in MIDA, Invest Malaysia Facilitation Center. The whole idea is to make sure that we have a strong, functional one-stop center, okay? Because many one-stop center we heard about, it just stops there, gets stuck there, it doesn't move. You know, so we realized that it has to move, you know, it has to be fully functional one-stop center. And we started in Johor, because we believe this is very, very important in Johor, especially to, you know, to cater for the investors, to streamline the whole approval process. The second thing that, with Johor Corp's skills that, you know, they started years ago, and we realized that this is also should be done in Johor. That is why the JTDC is there, with all the collaboration and all that, to make sure that you be able to, just not upskilling, reskilling and all that, to match the right job requirements that are required by the companies, right? So in MIDA, we've been doing this for so many years. In fact, in JSCZ, we realized that, you know, we also need foreign experts to come on board, right? To the question of where, you know, to the Singapore talent who has hesitant to go, you know, to Thailand or Malaysia and all that, because they're very comfortable. But there are some sweetener here, you know. So if you look at it in the incentive that we, beside the 5% tax incentive and all that, we also have income tax that is capped at 15%, not only for local, but also for foreign experts to come on board. So the whole idea is to get both foreign experts and the local talent to sit together, you know, and to address, you know, to cater for the industry requirements, basically. And also, I mean, in my ambitious mind, I'm thinking, so that these two folks can start to look at product technology. See, we are always been champions in process technologies. You know, this region, US, Singapore and Malaysia, or even the region, ASEAN, always, you know, any new product comes to this region, we know how to process it, we know how to create it, we know how to create it more efficiently. But when you really look at it, how many IPs are filed in Singapore? How many IPs are filed in Malaysia? Right? Companies individually don't know. They only have process technology of IPs. But product technology, it always comes from the other side. And this is the emphasis and thing that we wanted to happen in JCZ. especially on the sandbox things that we have. You know, and we have certain level of assistance from both countries under the Malaysia-Singapore Malaysia-Singapore Business Development Fund, where we give grants for Singapore companies that has who has a partner in Malaysia. They can do it in Singapore, no problem, governed by ESG, or a Malaysian company who has a partner in Singapore, they can do it in Malaysia, in JACZ. So there is a development fund that is available for pilot projects, for sandbox initiatives and so on. So this is, so far we don't see much traction to it. So I will urge, you know, Singapore Poly and all, come and tap into this. We see what we can do about it, right? And the other one is that there are another folks that we always kind of like leave them behind, not say leave them behind, you know, they are a bit slow in coming up because the traction is, I mean, the journey will be much longer. The high growth, high value companies, or the startup companies that we can see, right? And MIDA have taken one step ahead. In fact, we have signed an MOU with an accelerator called Beyond 4. Beyond 4 CEO is here somewhere, I think. Where the test model was started in Singapore is to encourage startups from Singapore or high growth, high value companies who wants to scale up further from Series A to Series B or even, you know, further to scale up in Malaysia, which we have the resources, talents, you know, in land and so on, right? And we believe this to foster close innovation between two countries. And again, coming back to the bigger objective that I'm looking at is to position Malaysia and Singapore as a regional investment destination for folks who are coming from outside the region, all right, be it in innovation, be it in product technology, be it in process technology. You know, the new sexy words now we are hearing is agentic AI. It's another layer that's coming in. I think probably you don't need 10 years anymore. You probably can shorten with 5 years with AI and all that, you know, to produce this kind of talent. Yeah, so yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, and there's a question for Mr. Nordin and Vino. What are the infrastructure developments Johor has in the next few years to support the transport, electricity and water infrastructure anticipated from more manufacturing activities? Maybe we can post that question up. Yeah, any form of infrastructure support, yeah, that is a planned. Yeah.
Yeah, the immediate that I can, I mean, infrastructure-wise, like I mentioned, we are not starting from scratch, right? There's already amazing development already during Iskandar region, as you can see. But the plan is to enhance it further, right? And the federal government is allocating, you know, more funding for the infrastructure development. We'll be creating more industrial parks, you know, to have a more conducive environment, you know, building more state-of-art kind of facilities, you know, ready-built facilities, office spaces and all that. But when you talk about utilities, right, which is very interesting, Malaysia, as you know, we have already enrolled into the third-party access for green energy, right? Every now and then, I used to hear from investors when they come in, when we discuss about the project, you know, they don't talk, we will talk about the scope and all that, but they don't go to the tax incentive immediately. Tax incentive is something very, very, you know, at the bottom we discussed. The most prominent thing they will ask us is, can I get green energy? Can you give us green energy? You know, because it is part of that ESG, SDG kind of thing that they have. And Malaysia, excuse me, we are blessed. We have amazing resources of green, all right? Whether it's in the solar, hydro, or even now hydrogen. We're talking about green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, not yellow, pink, or not so much. The one not yet, I guess. Yeah, mostly blue and green, right? And with this third-party access that we have, a company can source their green energy from any part of Malaysia if there's a solar panel, or if there's a solar panel, solar farm in northern side of Malaysia, they can do an agreement with this company and the provider, you know, to have access for the green power at the market price. And you can use the existing grid which our TNB has already built. And you have to pay a small token of toll because you're using the grid. And this has given an amazing opportunity for the companies to fulfill their green transition plan, green energy transition plan. And on top of that, if you are doing on your own green initiative, if you are putting a solar panel, for example, on your rooftop, I think Mark soon will be doing this, right? I think I advised him earlier before. Just put a solar panel on your rooftop. The capex of this incurred on the hardware can actually be used as an allowance to offset against your revenue. You know, when you're making your revenue, right? Which is an allowance. So, technically, when you look at it, you get, and you can use for your own consumption. And if you have excess, you can sell it to the grid. Technically, actually, you are getting a free energy. In other words, I mean, you pay for this solar panel and all that, but actually the capex can be used as an allowance to offset against your revenue. So basically, you are saving money on that. So I'm sure Mark will look into that, definitely.
Actually, we are talking to some vendors now on the pricing of the hardware and which panel. On top of that, we also, like, I think I agree with Mr. Vino. You know, our factory in Malaysia actually exemplifies all these, like, we try to go for energy efficient equipment, and then we reduce, we optimize the production to reduce consumption, right? And then all this wastewater, we have all these water initiative to, because from Singapore, everything is expensive. So you know, so it's habitual that we go over there. Hey, this one must save, and you know what I mean. So we have the kind of initiatives to, to go green.
So it's called green investment tax allowance. You know, so any companies, whether you are doing manufacturing or doing services, if you are part of this green energy, you can tap into this. And this is considered a new set of incentives, so to speak, besides the tax incentive that we are talking about it, right? The corporate tax exemption and all that. So this is one of the programs that's happening. And we can see a lot of Singapore companies that don't as existing in Malaysia are really tapping into this. I think they guess they really know how expensive electricity in Singapore, right? so when you have this kind of resources, definitely they will capitalize it further, right? So that's one. The other one is that, okay. So I think I leave it to my good friend, Mr. Benjamin.
Anything?
No. Very quickly, RTS is coming soon. That should be able to transport about 10,000 people every 1 hour back and forth. I think we are currently in the process of expanding the North-South Highway from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. That should be completed in 2027. So that should improve mobility across from south to north. There's also the ETS trains coming in from KL all the way. Right, so that's important for train. That should cut your time using train by 2 hours from what it is currently. And at the border, I think border control is important. We are moving towards, to be fair, that process from a government perspective, G2G, to allow people to have this ease of movement. To simplify people without using passport, etc. You have to think about it, It's about national security as well. And the fact that we have accelerated that over the last 12 to 18 months is a testament to both the Singapore government and the Malaysian government for pushing this through. Because you will not have this conversation 5 years ago. I can tell you that. But because of this, it is currently happening. So I look forward to see what happens in the next 6 to 12 months in terms of ease of movement. I think in terms of infra, transport is there. Electricity is actually not a critical issue, to be honest. rarely lah. I think the data centers were the one that was causing a bit of a problem a few years ago, but nowadays everything has stabilized in terms of power. I think only water is still something that we need to optimize. There are some projects that's already been approved at the state level to improve water production capacity. There's abundance of raw water. It's the processing part that is the issue here in Malaysia. So, you know, give us time and we'll sort it out for you guys. Thank you.
All right, now we have one question which I can pose to the businesses here. Does it still make sense to have a hub in Singapore? Maybe all business functions can run entirely in Johor. How should Singapore companies position themselves in this? Let's pose this question on the screen. Yeah, perhaps two gentlemen, Mark and Lennon. Lennon, would you like to start first?
Thank you, Renee. The quick answer is yes. I think Singapore has its advantages. That's why I always say that the Singapore GSSEZ is complementary, and 1 + 1 is greater than 2. So I think this is the whole concept of this. So I think most businesses will use Singapore as a control tower if it's a Singapore-based company, where they house the financial, IT function, as well as HR function, while some of the production capacity will move over to the SEZ region. Also as an IP hub and center, and I think Vino was mentioning about creating IP in the SEZ. The same IP can also be created in Singapore, and then I think there's a good use of the both side IP to enhance your products and offering. So the quick answer is yes, Singapore is still very relevant in this equation.
Okay, Mark.
Well, in my opinion, in my business, we still need the people to be in Singapore, right? It's just run decentralized. Now, it's just like, for example, right now, you know, we have a lot of data centers in JB, which is near our factory. But the owners and the consultants are in Singapore. So, you know, our Singapore office actually service the consultants and the owners, while the manufacturing is just beside the customer's factory, right? So, in the same way, I think we probably have to change our mindset on this Johor Singapore SEZ. I think it's a shift of mindset from competition to collaboration, you know? So I look at it this way, you know, for example, Singapore and Johor, you know, bring to the table their strengths, right? Singapore in terms of maybe R&D or something like that, you know, and then Malaysia or JB has the manufacturing muscle. It's agile and space, right? So Singapore comes out the product or thinks of the product, and JB creates or manufactures the product. You know, that's how I think.
Can I add on?
Okay.
See, it is very much relevant because the whole idea is complementary, right? And again, like I mentioned just now, to position Malaysia and Singapore as a regional investment destination. So, for example, when you look at it, Singapore still attracts quite amazing, especially in semiconductor, wafer fabs and all of them in Singapore, right? And the reason because, you know, you have 4 wafer fab park in Singapore, which is amazing, something to take note. And they are, you know, state-of-art facilities are being built in Singapore and all that. But however, the tier 1 and tier 2 companies, the supply chain, see, it's quite difficult for them to do it in Singapore because of the cost doing and, you know, in line constraint. But if at all they do it in Singapore, the cost will push to the clients, which doesn't make sense. I mean, in business sense. But if you do it in JSEZ, they can support the MNCs in Singapore. So it is still very much relevant. And when you talk about in terms of R&D, we're talking about, you know, you can have primary R&D here. The secondary R&D can be done in JSEZ, which is, you know, it's just across, right? And many companies are looking into that. Okay. And then Singapore is a hub. You have more than 4,000 regional headquarters in Singapore, right? And looking where to expand within this region. And JSZ plays an important role here. A company like Stoll, because of the supply chain, they can serve from Johor to their clients, for example like Micron and all of that, and can tap into Malaysian market. So the whole idea is to have the access market and complementary, and we strongly believe this will become, it's going to be a game changer, for the region especially. But we are not detecting the companies. You must have certain activities in Singapore, certain activities you must have it in JSZ, or you must have the whole activities in JSZ, or you just have a small operations in Singapore. We are not detecting it. What we are saying, whatever that makes business sense to your project. When we were doing this, we put ourselves in investors' shoes. What is the best you can get from the both nations? How can you leverage to prepare the best business case for your projects in this region? So we never impose anything. What do we want to do in Singapore? What makes sense to do? But we have certain requirements from what we wanted from JCZ. We have certain requirements what we wanted in Singapore. If you fulfill the requirement, for example, for the certificate of origins and all that, right? You can actually enjoy both sides of it if you really look into it. Right? So it is very, we are very clear about it. When we do this, we put ourselves in investors' shoes. We want to make sure that the investors, can have a good case study for having a project in both of these countries.
Thank you, Vinod. So we are running out of time and we have to wrap up. Let's give our panelists a round of applause for their insightful sharing. And thank you to the audience for your questions as well. I know we have a lot of questions to tackle, but feel free to reach out to them. And I'll now pass this on to our MC, who'll take this on.
Thank you, Renee. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give another big round of applause to all our panelists. I'd like to invite the panelists to stand up and stand at the center. We want to do a group photograph with everyone. All right, big smiles for the camera. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, our panelists and moderator. Everyone is so polite, I love it, They're shaking each other's hands. We'll give them a moment. Now, once again, our heartfelt appreciation to all who have made this event possible, our speakers, moderators, panelists, industry partners, and most importantly, each and every single one of you. Knowledge learned is that knowledge that is shared, that knowledge that is absorbed. And all of you being here today, taking in all these different speeches, discussions, it is the starting of knowledge, and there's so much more. We've got 4 breakout sessions later this afternoon as well. The descriptions of the breakouts are at the exhibition hall. When you exit, you will be able to see them. Those of you who are participating in the breakouts later, we do want you to gather at about 1:15 p.m. at the exhibition halls. Our student ushers, these wonderful individuals who have been standing throughout these presentations. Let's give them a big round of applause. Outstanding students from Singapore Polytechnic. So they'll be guiding you to your breakouts as well later. Now, I also want to give you a heads up as well. No event is complete without a lucky draw. That's right. So if you're staying all the way till the end of the session, we do have our lucky draw. So students, especially if you've gone through registration, you've got your stamp cards, just check out 5 booths at the exhibition hall, get those 5 stamps, join one of the breakout activities, put your stamp card into the bin at 4:30 p.m. at the latest. 5 o'clock, we announce the winners, so don't go anywhere. Great prizes to be won. And at the same time, a lot of knowledge that you take away as well. We hope you leave today with renewed connections, fresh insights, and a deeper understanding of how we can collectively shape the future of manufacturing and innovation in the region. Now, the key part of all of this that we've done so far is feedback. We want to hear from you what you thought of the event so far, where we can be better, and how we can improve to make it even more meaningful when we return in 2026. So if I could take a moment of your time to scan the QR code that's on the screen and share your feedback with us. Now, sometimes feedback comes with reflection, and we want to take some time to reflect before we pen down our words. That's fine as well. You can take a picture of the QR code first, and later over lunch, while you're thinking, sip of coffee, you can let us know your feedback as well. Give you a couple more seconds. Those of you who want to take a picture of the QR code. Okay. And at this juncture, I'd like to invite our VIPs in the first 2 rows to take their leave. Ladies and gentlemen, please. Thank you.